This excerpt was taken from a Full and Bloom interview with producer Ric Browde. Click the links in the description to listen to the entire interview and more interviews with Ric. How do you end up being roommates with Herman?
Well, I guess formally, when the last tour that I did with Ted Nugent, where we were doing a live album, Intensities, the opening acts, both on their first American tour, were the Scorpions and Def Leppard. And because all of us hated Ted, we always hung out with the opening acts. And Herman and I became really fast friends, and at the time. And so when he would always come over to New York. He would live at my house, and then when I came out he asked me to come do his solo album, and we put it together. And so I was living with him in Redondo Beach. And then when I went to do Victory, I was living at his apartment in Hanover, Germany. We just became friends, and then he got involved with this woman who became a dear friend of mine. It was a former Penthouse centerfold and hooker, and named Tammy Ventrella, and she was having an affair with Bruce Johansson, who was CC DeVille. And as a favor to her, I did Poison. So it was all like everything you see out of Los Angeles music in those days. Even though I was living in New York and sort of straddling New York, Germany, and Los Angeles, everybody was in every other band and knew everybody else, and it was just like one giant petri dish. And so, people were having sex with various things. So Bruce Johansson was having sex with Tammy Ventrella, who was married to Herman, and was like begging me to go see her boyfriend's band. So things like that. So.
Incredible. I know it was a quick record, but I typically...
We had 9 days to do. There's not much to say about the Poison album. I'll give it to you very briefly. We did the album at Music Grinder Studios in Hollywood, which isn't there anymore, but the whole album cost $23,000. That was the budget, including everything: travel, producer's advance, mixing. The way we got it was Stevie Nicks had booked out the studio, but she was so coked out she would never show up. So we made a deal for cash to the guys that worked at the studio. They didn't tell the owner that we were there, I'm sure, and they just kept the cash. But if the fat bitch ever showed up, which she never did, we would have to vacate the place really quickly. That was how we were able to do an album.
Do you go see Poison prior to recording them?
Yeah, actually, that's why I signed. Tammy begged me to go. We went to a place called the Country Club, it was a club in Reseda, California, and I was out here, and I went, and the place was packed, and the band was horrible, but I think the place had a 1,200 seat capacity, and 1,000 of the people there were girls, and everyone wanted to fuck the band afterwards. And you go, damn, if the girls are there and they're wanting to fuck the band like they did, and they did. I mean, Bret Michaels was a hottie, and the rest of them did pretty well for themselves as well. All you have to do is write some passable songs and capture it, and where girls are, guys will follow. So I agreed to do the album. They'd been rejected by every label. So I agreed to do this, and there was a small label called Enigma, and one thing led to another, and there they were. So. And
then the promotion came from Capitol? I know that was like their little...
initially from Enigma, but Enigma was in financial difficulty, so they sold to Tom Wally at Capitol, who later became Interscope's big guy. And Capitol they dropped everything, their A&R, because they were they were like MCA, really shitty label at that point. And so they had nothing to, until their new A&R people's acts delivered their albums. They had nothing to work on. There was a guy, they had a promotion with a guy named Walter Lee, who later, during that period got arrested for using a cattle prod on his promotion staff, and things like that. It was all just scandals and this, that, and the other thing.
That's pretty incredible, because I've never heard that side of it. So that's the only reason they kind of promoted them more.
Yeah. I mean, it was just that. And then they made those videos, more girls, more things, and Poison were calling in to MTV. They were hiring people to call MTV, and things happened.
As far as being prepared, were they pretty easy to work with? Did things move quickly, or
no? They moved quickly. We do a song a day, start to finish, basically, because that way we didn't have to break down, and we just kept everything going. And the drummer was really, really horrible.
Rikki Rockett.
The nicest guy, and really nice guy. I mean, I can't say anything bad about him, but he wasn't very, none of them were musical virtuosos except for Bruce. Bruce was the only competent one, but, none of them had really recorded. Bruce kept talking to me about like leaving the band because he had another band that he was thinking of joining, and we were in the right place at the right time. It was a triumph of image over substance. Bret Michaels was incompetent, but it worked. I mean, and in a lot of ways, I feel that we were kind of a landmark album because we opened up the music business. We removed the barrier to entry used to be being able to sing in tune and have talent, and we removed that. So it was good.